Here we go.
How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the Jordan Patrick Show Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richie, here with a good friend of our show, Mr. Idris Salam. Idris, I'm digging that jersey, bro.
Emlyn, my favorite player all time, New York Giants.
Yes, sir.
That's my dude.
I'm entitled New York Giants legend. If you don't know, Google that shit.
Right. And if you don't know, yeah. So, what's going on, man?
Well, baseball's got some Hall of Fame controversies that have been on my mind, bro.
Mm-hmm.
More than a couple of Hall of Fame controversies that are kind of irking me, man.
Yeah.
Kind of irking me.
Yeah.
And it's not about, first of all, I want to say congratulations to David Ortiz, a.k.a. Big Papi.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that given his productivity over the years and being a top-tier designated hitter, he does belong induction into the Hall. That's why I'm with the enemy beer today, the Sammy.
I was just telling people that he needs to get himself a Samuel L. Jackson, but he can go ahead and drink the Sammy Adams. If you know what Samuel L. Jackson is, you know what I'm talking about.
And this isn't about no rival stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's more so about the fact that it's not fair that you're keeping out guys like a Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez, a Roger Clemens for the same character-initiated stuff. Now, with Papi, allegedly, there was a positive test,
right?
But it wasn't punishable during that time. So essentially, Major League Baseball at the time was on a witch hunt trying to get, you know, the guys who were doing stuff to kind of beat it at the pass, because I think they had a few people tipping them off that Congress wasn't far behind.
Right. I think as we spoke off air, I think
that's the name of the show, by the way.
Oh, I think with Big Papi's presence on TV and his character after retirement, I think they gave him a pass and let him in. Because I can't remember if they actually got a positive test on Barry Bonds. I know they said he talked about how he used the cream. And to
the best of my knowledge, Bonds never tested positive.
Right.
But there was always, I mean, it's more than speculation.
Right, yeah.
The man was a bobblehead.
Yeah.
Roger and Andy Pettit.
Yeah.
Both got busted. I think in Andy's case, Andy was pretty contrite. Yeah. And I think part of all of this that the sports writers take into consideration is the honesty level.
Right.
You know, there was a lot of contrition with Andy Pettit, and Andy looked up to Roger. So,
right.
I mean, either Andy Pettit's a hell of a liar or I believe him. I happen to believe him that Roger was more of an influence. And I mean, it wasn't so much that he dogged out Roger. It was just saying that he was influenced into doing it to get over an injury, which I wholeheartedly believe to be true.
Right.
But having said that, my thing is this. What is the criteria? Are we talking about how many Cy Youngs and how many home runs and how many ribs you got? Or are we talking about we're playing the moral police now? Because it kind of changes the narrative and the direction of what exactly a Hall of Famer is.
I agree, because you can put an asterisk. You know, you had the Black Sox scandal. You had all this stuff going on over the years in baseball.
Yes, sir.
You can, you know, denote, saying, hey, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark Maguire, A-Rod, you know, which all are deserving. This is during the steroid era, and let's put it that way, because regardless, even if you took the career Bonds had after he bulked up. When he played for Pittsburgh, Bonds was a beast.
He was a hell of a player.
Yeah, he was one of the best players in the game. So
no doubt.
That half of his career and say, okay, let's base it on what he did this half of his career. He still gets in, you know. And I think with the writers, it is a moral thing. They're not looking at what these players done. I mean, there's some that are getting in because of what they did, but I think it's more moral because there's a lot of players that should be in the Hall of Fame right now.
I mean, bro, even if you look at Schilling, what is he getting left out for?
Right.
Very drastic political views that of a lot of our population might not agree with.
Right.
Or some moral stances that you're like looking at them a little crazy. But once again, we're not putting you in for who you vote for or what you think. We're putting you in for what you did in between the lines, or at least that's what I thought we were doing.
Because Lou Gehrig, he had some real bad views towards blacks, but it's what he did on the field. And, you know, I'm not a fan of him as a person, but as a player, the guy was, he was a beast.
And one thing I would take into consideration, given the year or the years, I should say.
Right.
I also think that sometimes with people with those hardened views, it's also a product of the times.
Exactly.
But having said that, still not something that I think either one of us are happy with or pleased with but that's a great point, and it opens up something else that kind of shows the hypocrisy of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball took forever to finally put the great players of the Negro League into the same categories. Because what people know. Right. What Major League Baseball took so long to wrap their head around is that these men didn't have a choice if they could play in the fields.
Right.
Like when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier and then Doby was not long after him, what people fail to realize that make these decisions in Major League Baseball is that these men didn't have a choice. Like your steroid users, they had choices. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, how you behave, there was choices to that too.
Right.
But it's like, so we're going to play the moral police with who took a needle in the backside. But when it comes to flat out racism years and years ago, and an even bigger word at the time, exclusion, we're going to just sit on that and not have the same energy. Right. And then you have a few things in between, like the Pete Rose gambling.
Yeah.
Or the fact that even with this steroid shit, that when these guys were breaking records, this is something that always annoyed me as a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
You got Roger Maris, who broke the regular season home run record. And there was a movie about it that Billy Crystal directed that featured, him and Mickey Mantle's epic home run race.
Right, 61.
First of all, nobody wanted them to break the Babes record. Mm-hmm. And secondly, they didn't want it to be that dude. If it was going to be somebody, they wanted it to be Mickey.
Right.
So because it took him more games than it took Babe Ruth, they put an asterisk on that thing. Never during his living life was he acknowledged as the true regular season home run king.
Right.
But yet when Maguire did it, cheating his way to the top, Major League Baseball not only knew about it, but they put it on the biggest party for your guy.
They made it a celebration, a spectacle, him and Sammy Sosa.
Yes, sir, because Sosa was right there with him.
It became the Sosa-Maguire party, And I'm like, wow. And Roger Maris, he wasn't such a great player, really. I mean, he was a good player, but he wasn't, He caught lightning in a bottle that year. Right. It just, that year, 60, bam, he just did it, And I feel he never got his recognition either. It's like when Bonds and Bonds and Maguire and Sosa was hitting these home runs, like they wanted them to break. The media wanted them to break. These same writers, they wanted them to break Maris's record.
And I think that's what makes me laugh. What we've made abundant in this time talking about this subject, there's just too much hypocrisy, because even with the Field of Dreams game, which was awesome, don't get me wrong, it was awesome. But you're banking and making money. Now it's a thing every year that this venue is going to be used.
Right.
But yet, Shoeless Joe Jackson, who from all accounts of people from that era was not on the take, the movie was about him. So you're making money in the movie, but still won't put that man in the hole.
And with Shoeless Joe, he was just a little country boy. He didn't know what's going on. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah, he didn't know what's going on. And
even if he did, that's a bad situation to be in. You're going to be Serpico, or you're just going to play and do your thing regardless. Right. Until you're wearing the shoes, that's not an easy situation to be in either.
It's not. And it goes back to the times. I mean, little country guy playing baseball. And like I said, it seems as if he didn't do as they said he did. He didn't take any money. He didn't throw a game. He didn't do none of that. And like, this guy's not in the Hall of Fame. It's like, wow, come on.
It's sad, man, because and I'll even make one that's a little more personal to me and more pertinent to like not so long ago. I'm a huge Don Mattingly fan, as you know, my favorite Yankee of all time.
Yep.
And this is my thing. Mark Maguire played in the American League a long time and played the same position as Donnie. So when you're looking at how Donnie has always been the subject of possibly the best player that's not in the Hall, or at minimum one of them, who was snagging a few extra All-Star game appearances away from Don Mattingly? That would be Mark Maguire. So you're punishing the guy who cheated. Okay, I get that. But you're also punishing the guy who didn't cheat.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to spin this shit. And I think the one commonality is that Major League Baseball only cared when Congress did. So if we're talking about moral police, and you're going to put Bud Selig in the Hall, who oversaw all this crap when that was going on, you got to let him in, man. You got to let these in.
It's crazy because I can remember years that no one got voted into the Hall of Fame. How do you not vote anyone into the Hall of Fame?
Because the thing is, you can't treat people like kids. You can't treat people like children. The reality is that people remember by excluding all these different people, you're insulting the intelligence of everyone, because if the establishment is broken, you can't pick and choose. And to your point, what started this segment, Big Papi, I think he's a great guy, rival player. I got no bad for the man.
Right.
But you and I both know that there's a distinct possibility that he's in because of his relationship post-baseball. Because he's a great ambassador for the game.
Right. Funny guy, everything. I mean, since he's retired, he's been like, he's almost like Shaq and Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley TNT.
He graduated to like, he's like everybody's uncle kind of thing.
Right. He's that level
kind of like how Shaq's everybody's uncle. That's kind of like where Big Papi kind of has taken that role. And funny as all hell. And this is a funny one. So I go to the 9/11 game with my good friend Richie in New York, childhood friend, big fan of the show, diehard Met fan. Bro, these Met fans were screaming at A-Rod while they loved Big Papi, because they were in that little cubicle right behind our seats.
Oh wow!
Because we were sitting with the center line.
Yeah.
So these guys were like right behind us, bro. After like, USA, and all of that, obviously for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The Ben Affleck chant started.
Oh man.
Because Jennifer is a thing again.
Yeah.
That, which I don't know if I'm happy about, because the Red Sox started winning championships and that happened. But at any rate, what's your final thought on this, Idris? I mean, we could talk about this for another hour.
Yeah. I just think the writers, I think they're just full of shit. I mean, like I said, it's a moral thing with them, not so much what's going on in the field. And like I said, these are the same guys who a few years ago didn't vote anyone into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you might have 89 guys on the ballot, they vote one player in the Hall of Fame. You're going to tell me, of all these players, Shoeless Joe Jackson being one, you're going to tell me you could not find one player in all these years who are eligible that you could not vote into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, there's so many layers to it. I mean, our inaugural episode, which will be coming up on 2 years, we talked about Shoeless Joe, Pete Rose, and AJ Hinch and what the men had in common.
Oh, AJ Hinch.
Now, what I find intriguing and interesting is that Hinch, at least when you're talking about in between the lines, did something more deplorable than what Rose or what Shoeless Joe did. At minimum, it's in the conversation. And your guy is back in Major League Baseball, you know, and
he should be banned.
I mean, you talk about changing history. They're worried about stats. This guy changed the course of careers in terms of who won the MVP that year and who edged out Aaron Judge. That would be Jose Altuve.
Yeah. And
now, Robert Chapman's reaction, I will never forget when Altuve hit that walk-off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one season.
No.
This is multiple seasons where these guys – and listen, I'm not a hypocrite. I know that there were Yankee players during the dynasty years that were also using I'm not going to say that. But the thing is, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that so many guys were using steroids that in that regard, it was an even playing field. But these guys were feeling signs. To me, that's completely a different kind of cheating.
And I think with them, it was so egregious. You know, they're not just looking at signs that, okay, do. They're banging on trash cans and all this other nonsense.
Oh, yeah. Jordan and I have always had this fuck you, AJ Hinch thing going. And we were talking about even our merch, like slipping it in, maybe a coffee cup or something. But I guess our conclusion, at least mine, and I think you share the same sentiment, is Major League Baseball has got to get off this moral police when it's convenient. Either you do it all the way or you don't do it at all. And at this point, you got to let these guys in. Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds only grabbing 30% of a vote is ridiculous, bro. I'm done on this one.
Yeah, I agree. Here we go.
The never-ending last time your first time with us. Funny story. Brett and I, frequent visitor of our show, Brett and I did this, attempted to do this topic.
Yeah.
And, you know, we like to have a good time on the show, but let's just say that Brett might have had a few too many, and he was trying to get into this shit, telling me, I mean, listen, everybody has an opinion, and I can live with that one.
Right.
But I basically made an argument, especially in lieu of the controversial book, in lieu of The Last Dance, and kind of wanting to have that intrigue about hearing Scottie's side of the story.
Yeah.
But with this thing, I go to my guy Brett, and I'm like, listen, dude, is Scottie Pippen a top 25 all-time player?
Right.
He looked at me a little crooked.
Yeah.
I kind of enhanced the argument and say, well, there's 5 positions on a ball court. You got your center, your power forward, your small forward, your shooting guard, and your point. Is he top 5 at his position? If he is, according to my breakdown, that would make him a top 25 player.
Yeah.
So I will give this to you. I hand this to you for a moment. And, you know, you might grade guys different than me, and that's okay. But in your opinion, given that, you know, he did make the all-time 50 greatest back in the mid-'90s, and now it's expanded to 75, obviously, he's still on that list. Where do you rank Scottie Pippen all-time? And why is it that – it's kind of a two-ended question. Why is it that with these dynamic duos, Kobe and Shaq, they get their props no matter where they would go? Rest in peace, Kobe. Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's never a question. Hakeem and Clyde, never a question. It always seems that with Pippen being the sidekick, so to speak, in that dynamic duo, And I don't agree with him on everything,
Mhm.
but I do feel that he legitimately gets overlooked.
I think as for ranking first, when you break it down 25 and you have 5 positions on the court, I would put him in at 25. I would put him at 25. Now, if you're just basing it just on players, period, I put him in top 50. You know,
Yeah. And I
but
guess somewhere in between, if he wasn't in 25, but if you're kind of just scoping it out with everybody.
Yeah.
See, my logic with grading these guys is that you can't necessarily compare a Kareem to a Pippen in terms of what they do.
Right.
But I would get slapped if I'm trying to tell somebody that at minimum Kareem isn't the second best basketball player of all time.
Right.
Because on some people's list, he might even be the best. I mean, I know it's awfully hard to entertain somebody being better than MJ, but Kareem is on a short list of guys that belong in that conversation. Now, obviously, he plays the same position. I'm sorry?
Kareem's number 2 on my list all time.
Same here, bro. Right behind MJ.
Yeah. Scottie wasn't a big scorer, but he did a lot of other things.
Yes,
Scottie
he did.
Was an offensive beast. I mean, so that alone puts him up there. He was a facilitator, you know,
absolutely
rebounder, you know. So 25, if you're basing it on position, yes, I say he's top 2 at his position all time, because you're looking at Russell, Kareem, Wilt. You talk about a lot of players. I put him
for sure.
30 for me, somewhere around 30, 35.
And I respect that because it's logical.
Right.
Now, in terms of small forwards, the only people that I would put in front of Scottie Pippen, in no particular order, but I would put them ahead of Scottie. LeBron James, Larry Bird, Dr. J. Julius Erving. Let me see. That would be 3.
Yeah.
And maybe, actually, I might be comfortable with putting Scottie at 4.
Yeah. And see, that's what I mean. Because when you break it down, you know, who are the best small forwards? And touch on Larry Bird. This generation missed a great player in Larry Bird. Larry Bird, God, people just don't realize how great that guy was, you know.
It also goes on impact because while Kareem and Jordan, when you look at their resumes, I think Kareem could be the closest to challenging Jordan.
Because their numbers are almost identical.
On a lot of levels. The reason why Larry Bird is so important, in addition to being a phenomenal basketball player, is that he was one half of the 2 guys, the other being Magic Johnson, that brought the NBA back. Because when people say that Michael Jordan saved the NBA, I get aggravated. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson saved the NBA.
They came out of college together.
MJ took it to a global level.
Yeah.
But the reason why I would have MJ as the GOAT, why Scottie needs to stop wilding out in this book, is because Michael Jordan made it into a guard-driven league where prior to his time at the top, it was still dominated by the big men.
Big man game.
And the only time after that where it was dominated by the big men is when he left.
Right.
That's when Duncan and Shaq were having their respective runs, kind of running into each other.
Yeah, Duncan, Shaq, Yao, you know, it's right. And Dirk was coming in. He was more of he's a big man that can shoot from anywhere.
Big man that can shoot, you know, very good footwork and you know, and I understand that in today's NBA, you got big men getting behind the line shooting threes. My thing is this, and I'm not trying to take a dump on the guys that play nowadays because you can only base guys on when they played, really, and try to compare them to their contemporaries.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, when I think about Scottie Pippen, rounding it back to what we're on here, is that he was one half of arguably the greatest duo in NBA history. In my opinion, I would always put Magic and Kareem as a duo above those two, just for the sheer fact that you have the greatest point guard and the greatest center on the same squad.
Right.
But in terms of overall impact and success, Scottie and Mike, in my opinion, got to be top 2, 3, along with Shaq and Kobe. Shaq and Kobe had a little more longevity. I'd feel a little better about putting them higher on that list. I'd probably have them at 3.
Yeah.
But it's just when you are sidekicking with Michael Jordan, it can easily make people overlook how great you were. The first team NBA awards.
Yeah, but you know what's so funny about it is with Scottie.
Defensively was what I was getting at.
Yeah, it's what's so funny about Scottie is Jordan has always spoken about him. Like I remember during one of the final championships, he said Scottie should get the money he makes. He's always the first Scottie. He's never said, I did this. He always said, Scottie. And see, that's why I don't understand Scottie's logic. I mean, yes, The Last Dance, but The Last Dance is basically about Jordan, if you really look at it. You know,
and Jordan had his creative control over how it was going to be pitched.
Right. And he never trashed Scottie. And no. I say to people who say, well, Jordan never won without Scottie. True. However, they act like when Scottie got there, Jordan won a title right away. It took 3 or 4 years, I think it did.
They had to get through the bad boys.
Yeah, and even Scottie was saying how Jordan basically said, look here, you need to step your game up, you know? And that's why I don't understand. Because if you look at the duos of the past, Kareem, Magic, you never heard them have a beef about this.
Nah.
You know, like, hey, this is us. Even if you go back to Moses Malone and Dr. J, Doc was like, hey, I needed this guy to win a championship.
Thank you for mentioning them because they have to be a top 5 combo.
Stockton, Malone. They were Batman and Robin. Who was Batman? Who was Robin? It didn't matter. But
the only thing holding back Stockton and Malone is that they never won a ring together. That would be the one critique on that one, even though they were phenomenal.
Because of Mike.
But they ran into Scottie and Mike. So just to put it in perspective,
yeah, the same with Kemp and Peyton. They never argued.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. My buddy Brett mentioned them too. One thing that I'd like to say about just kind of breaking this all down, I try to figure where like the breaking point or the initial poke was where Scottie started losing his stuff. Re-examining The Last Dance, one thing that stood out to me is in the final year of their dynasty, of the second three-peat, Scottie intentionally got surgery closer to the season started because he wanted to enjoy his offseason.
Right.
And Mike was quoted as saying in The Last Dance that he felt that was selfish of Scottie. In a lot of ways, I could understand why Mike would feel that way. I also think that the financial situation with Scottie made him angry because while he was given advice by upper management of the Bulls not to take the deal, that it would never be revisited, I also understand the other side of it when you have mouths to feed.
Right.
So I get both sides of it. I think the Bulls did him a real disservice by not just doing the thing that was morally right, which is paying the man when he clearly outplayed that contract. Right. But business is business.
Right.
And I do think that he was very angry over that for quite some time. There were trade talks about him going to Seattle. There were a lot of variables that were happening. But ultimately, I think that's part of the motivation why Scottie said, the hell with this shit. They're not paying me. They don't value me like that. And, the black eye that he'll always have, unfortunately, with his reputation is that he sat out the final play with the Kukoc shot over Anthony Mason. We know the game. We're Knicks fans. Yeah. But once again, like the Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah.
this starts turning into something bigger than what they did in between the lines.
Yeah, Scotty, and he also had an issue with Paxton taking a shot as well.
I wasn't aware of that one.
Yeah, he said that basically Jordan was playing for the camera when he told Paxton. No, I mean not Paxton. I mean Kerr. I mean my fault. When he told Kerr,
Okay.
I'm gonna get you
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I just don't understand Scotty's beef because Jordan. Like I said, I was never a big Jordan fan. I'm a Knicks fan, so I couldn't stand the Bulls. But I give Jordan his props.
No, you have to. You have to. I mean, as a kid during that time,
yeah,
I watched so many Knicks games, and they were a big part of that time of my life. Honestly, bro, I related more to Scotty than I did Mike, even though they both stuck it to us. And I think because if we're going to be honest, outside of the fact that he has the nicest kicks, who do most people relate to more?
Right.
I would probably lean to say Scotty. And, Mike, while phenomenal, and part of being the best of the best is that you have to have that killer mentality that you're going to go eat lunch with Charles Barkley, but 3 hours later, you're looking to, take his heart out.
Right.
And that's what, Mike had an intangible that makes him the greatest of all time. So many intangibles. But I'm sorry. The God's honest truth is, while Mike, there'll only be one Mike, I think it's fair to say there'll only be one Scotty, too, because Scotty revolutionized the point forward position, something that Magic kind of introduced in the 80s. I feel that Scotty took it to a new level. Bulls never had a natural point guard all those years.
And see, like I said, Scotty did it on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
He defended your best player,
And I think Magic Johnson, 91 Finals, is a great example of Scotty locking down the other team's best player, doing the dirty work. And I think that sometimes that goes unsaid. And as New York Giant fans, just to make an analogy, I think you could kind of make the same argument for, say, a Carl Banks or a Harry Carson.
Right.
But Lawrence Taylor, who's phenomenal, of course.
Right.
In my opinion, the greatest defensive player ever. But, in team sports, you always see situations like this. Scotty had a personal tragedy. I believe his son was only 33 years old, very young man. Tragically passed away. And
his wife.
Somebody he's going through a divorce too. So, as somebody who grew up watching this guy, regardless if he was on your team or not, above all else, you want him to be in a good mental space.
Right.
And hope that he perseveres through his personal demons, because when people start reflecting on the past and calling out this one and that one, it's always a lot deeper than what happened on the court.
If you're a real sports fan, you want the best. Like, I'm a Giants fan, and I can't stand the Cowboy fans.
Of course.
I want the best for a player, like Romo. I
Smith.
I liked Romo. I like the guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I don't have no bad for Tony. It's always a never-ending meme, and it's easy to make fun of dude.
Right.
But no, I get it. And I mean, personally, being a Notre Dame fan, Jalen Smith had that delayed start to his career because of the injuries in college. Now he's a member of our team. We don't know if he's going to be retained. I think he has a 50-50 to make it. I think he's a steal if he can recapture some of what he had.
And I don't want to stray from the conversation, but I would like to see him. I'd like to see him do what he did when he first got to Dallas.
I mean, it's possible because it's happened time and time again. Yeah. I mean, look at Scotty once again.
Yeah.
One last point I want to make on Scotty, and this is one that I wholeheartedly believe is super valid.
Yeah.
Is that with Scottie, when he left the Chicago Bulls, he was a vital part of a Portland Trailblazers team that was super relevant. When Mike had his stint with another organization, it was impressive to see a 40-year-old man doing what he was doing. And it was great. 38 and 39, actually. Right. It was great to see what he was doing. But to be fair, Scottie Pippen, in addition to having more playoff wins as a Chicago Bull than Mike, he also did a little bit more post-Mike than Mike did post-Scottie.
True that.
And I don't think that's something, and this isn't like trying to recreate history or trying to taint or switch it.
Right.
This is just me going to bat for a player who I believe, when you look at all these dynamic duos, he is undoubtedly the most underappreciated half of any dynamic duo that's even mentioned in the top 5, top 10, in this case, top 5. That's my thought on Scottie. But, I read excerpts of the book. I'm going to go in on the book because I feel that it's an intriguing team and it's an intriguing duo. And I want to hear both sides because we heard Mike's side.
Right.
The whole country did during a pandemic. I want to see what Scottie's talking about. But I wish him well. I wholeheartedly do.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. That's what I want to see. I was anticipating this.
You about to be like, we're going to start talking about football. Okay.
Yeah, I was anticipating this right here.
All right. First of all, Idris, before we dive into our predictions for championship weekend, is there anything that stands out to you from what just went down?
Yes. If you notice, every game was decided in the final seconds, the final drive. The defenses gave up. Like if you look at the Rams game, Tampa Bay ran cover 0. Why are you running cover 0? The Cincinnati game, like, wow, the interception and then the kicker saying, well, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Green Bay, you say, okay, Aaron Rodgers, this is your chance. But the kicker, Robbie Gould, boom.
Everything. My father, rest his soul, would have threw up watching that.
I know package. He would have had a fit. He might have went on a rampage, man. Because if I was a Packers,
I wanted him to win so bad from my late father that, like, I inherited his old Brett Favre jersey. I grabbed that thing and I threw it on like one of the recliners to try to get some of that juju going. It was too late, man.
I really thought Green Bay was going to win that game because, we spoke about it last week. I thought Green Bay was going to win that game. And for Rodgers not to throw a touchdown pass, I'm like,
I mean, it was funny. So I'm watching it at halftime. My mother gave me a quick call during halftime saying, oh, wow, this is crazy. It's snowing out there.
Right.
And from the nostalgic standpoint of just being a football fan, immediately I'm like, they got this.
Yeah.
But truth be told, when the weather got worse, I think it favored the road team because of the fact that they had the ability to run the ball, and Green Bay couldn't stretch out the field because traction was so awful.
Right.
And Green Bay's the best team at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wow. What a bad loss, though. I'm sorry. Like,
it's a bad loss.
Ugly. It would have been one of those things where you're like, damn, man, that was too close for comfort. But they should have won that game, man. Special team cost them that game.
Right. Because, the first quarter, Green Bay came out there. It looked like Green Bay was going to run them. And then everything just went down. I'm like, special teams. Oh, that's why I say the 3 phases of the game. Special teams, offense, defense. Or coach, you could say the fourth thing. Yeah. Green Bay not scoring a passing touchdown.
When you look at the kind of year that they had,
right,
it's hard to fathom even in those conditions, because how many times has that team put up ridiculous numbers in those conditions? The takeaway that I get, first of all, I want to say this was probably, arguably at minimum, the best divisional round in the history of the league.
It was. I would say the best because every game came down to the final drive, came down to the final minute. Every single game. You can even go back to the wild card weekend. Every game was so close, except for Buffalo and New England. But the divisional round, every game was a nail biter. And Kansas City and Buffalo, I mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I said Kansas City got this. I picked Buffalo. I think you picked Buffalo too. I'm not sure. Buffalo scores.
I sure did.
Kansas City came down, scored, and Tyreek Hill did his little waving. I said they better win. Kansas City went right down the field and scored. I was like, oh shoot, they're gonna win this. Kansas City goes down, kicks the field goal. I was like, on one side, I was like, damn, Buffalo lost. The other side, I was like, this was a damn good game,
It was crazy because the thing that I couldn't believe is, well, first of all, both quarterbacks are playing out of their mind.
Yeah.
And it will be remembered fondly as time moves along. But the thing that tripped me out, I just couldn't believe that they didn't squib it. Give your team the best chance to win. And I mean, at minimum, that one extra play that they got, given how much time wouldn't have been left in the game, Buffalo probably wins.
You squib that kick, you're going to knock out some seconds, or you're going to have a backup.
Field position, your chances just upped.
Right.
And it's got to be demoralizing to lose like that. But at the same time, I think what I learned, and it's ironic that it all happened in the same weekend.
Right.
Personally, I think Tom Brady's going to retire. Secondly, I think Aaron Rodgers isn't retiring or leaving Green Bay because of how embarrassing that loss was.
Right. He has to redeem himself.
And because they could franchise Devontae.
Right.
And then on the flip side, in the other conference, you have a quarterback dynamic that can rival what Brady and Peyton gave us for so many years.
Burrow and Chase. That's like Mark Duper and that's oh my, and the ball's going to Chase in the end.
And you got Mahomes and Hill. These three connections are going to be around for a long time. And now the NFL's in a good place, man. When you really look at it in terms of star power, because losing potentially, well, I mean, Brady, I wouldn't necessarily consider him the face of the league anymore because that's gradually been kind of shifting over to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that you got two legends in Rodgers and Brady that are either both retiring or they're close to the end.
Right.
When you look at these young kids, NFL's in good hands.
Very good. Yeah. And you can look at Mac Jones for New England,
Yeah, another kid that's going to grow.
So who knows? And golly, man, the NFL is going to look good for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a rather smooth transition, even though you look at like these two legends that have, and even guys before them, the Montanas, the Marinos, the Elways. It's incredible that the NFL has got this back.
Yeah,
but we're going to get into this one.
All
right.
This weekend was a mash unit for me because the only game I got right. No, I didn't get any game right this weekend.
This is the Bengals are the only team I was correct on.
I did say the Rams. Beat Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Oh, this. Whew, I want to go Chiefs, but those Bengals, man, those cats are like.
I'm gonna let you catch your breath and mold this.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna give my prediction. Give it a little time to regroup here. I get it, bro. I get it. This has been a very crazy playoffs. I get it. All right. Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Arrowhead. I don't think it's going to be as close as everybody says for two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any possible way that the Bengals have the capabilities to give the Chiefs the same game the Buffalo Bills just did.
I agree.
And I also don't believe that the Cincinnati Bengals, and don't get me wrong, they're not playing the 85 Bears this week.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, the Chiefs are a good enough defense where they can cause some havoc on a very inferior offensive line. And if Buffalo was playing them this week, I think it would have been even worse.
Yeah.
That O-line on Cincy is not good, and it's all more of a credit to Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, he's overcome being knocked on his ass quite a bit these last 2 weeks.
9 sacks last week. And you win the game.
To win. And to win. I mean, in terms of quarterback hits, that had shades of the beating that Eli took in 2012 against the Niners.
Yeah. And I think Mahomes is going to have a field day. I'm going with the Chiefs because Cincinnati has a former Giant over there.
I knew you were going to say it.
Mr. Eli Apple.
Yeah, that clown.
And Tyreek Hill is going to have a field day if he is matched up with Apple. Kelsey over the middle. Woo.
You know who else is going to have a field day?
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, my God.
Eli Apple so much as even thinks that he could tackle that man. Now, listen, I get it. I'm not trying to come off like that much of a hater. I know that there's 10 other people on Cincinnati's defense, and they're not a bad unit all in all. But my God, Eli Apple finally makes a play after getting scorched all year long. And all of a sudden, he wants to throw jabs at his two former employers. I'm like, bro, get out of here.
For the past 5 years, he's been getting toasted. He made one play.
Top 10 pick. You picked off Ryan Tannehill, bro.
Right.
You didn't. Like, you picked off Ryan Tannehill, and I did call that one.
He threw you the ball.
I did call that one about the picks. I called that one.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
You did.
I think Kansas City is going to do this rather easily.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm gonna go KC 37, Cincinnati 24. I think some point in the third quarter they're gonna distance themselves, and it's gonna be for good. The only way possible that the Bengals could pull this crap off is if the Chiefs are truly burned out from what they just went through with Buffalo.
Or overconfident.
Yeah, I mean that's always a thing too. But when you've been there that many times in a row, I think the Chiefs know when it's winning time because they were the subject of a lot of jokes during the course of the season, and I personally think once December hit, they knew what time it was, and they're the most seasoned team even going into these playoffs. They lost the Super Bowl last year due to a lot of injury. And I think they want that crown back. They're going to win this game.
They're healthy.
They are finally healthy. And I think they're going to put a hurting on a very good Bengals team that's just not there yet.
I'm going 35-17 KC.
Yeah.
The Arrowhead.
So
have you been to Arrowhead Stadium before?
No, I definitely have a bucket list.
I've been there, and it's as advertised.
I
literally had got a migraine, man. It was just so, and this was back in the 90s because Montana was quarterback. It was so loud. I mean, it was like I walked into a tunnel, and the walls turned into people. It was just so loud. I had to. I was eating. I got my tissue and stuck it in my ears. So I just watched the game. I could hear mumbling. But the stadium felt like it was going to crumble, man. It's like when that crowd gets whipped up and gets into it, You know how they say a tornado sounds like a train coming? That's how
Yeah, my
Arrowhead
father,
feels like that.
he ran into one in upstate New York. He told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels that way. The stadium feels like a train is like a big freight train is coming into the stadium, and that's 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. They were okay, but they wasn't the team they are now. So you can imagine.
Oh no, now that's a well-oiled machine, bro.
Yeah.
I think because of how incredible last week was, I think this week the NFL comes a little more down to earth, and there's still going to be good games, but I do think that the final game that we're going to cover here of the final four, this is going to be the better game in my opinion.
I agree. They know each other.
Yeah, they sure do. 49ers swept them this year, but the 49ers are really banged up.
Yeah.
In order, keys to winning. Obviously, the offense is going to continue to run through Deebo Samuel. Hurt or not, they go as far as he's going to take them.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, Ayuk's a factor, and you still got to account for Kittle. My thing is, I could forgive Garoppolo to a level having such a pedestrian game in Green Bay. Because, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who was a league MVP candidate, had a pedestrian game. The weather was that bad. So I can give him a pass to a level on not having the best game. But this is my thing. 2 weeks in a row, in my opinion, Jimmy Garoppolo did not play well enough to win.
Nope.
But he did.
Yep.
And I think this is the week where he can get exposed. And as much as I hate to say it, I do not want the Rams to win this game for a litany of reasons that I don't even want to really go all the way in on. Just like I said in the past, I cannot. It's a quarterback-driven league. And while I don't necessarily view Matt Stafford as an A+ elite guy, he is definitely better than the guy he's going against.
Yeah.
And he's been blessed with a lot of weapons and they're healthy. I would have to think that Sean McVay, not Scott Linehan, I said that last time. I would have to say that Sean McVay has got to be a little worried about Cam Akers in tough situations, and I would not be the least bit surprised if Sony Michel wins the touch battle, given that Akers had the game he had with some, coughing up the football.
Yeah.
Almost cost them their season, but Cooper Kupp, amazing talent, best receiver in the league.
Yes.
And this other guy that used to play with us, I forgot his name. He's pretty good too.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. The guy who looks like Demolition Man.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good at football.
Yeah.
He is pretty good at football. So I'm going to go I think the Niners keep it closer than people think, but in the fourth quarter, the Rams are going to do what they got to do to put this thing away. I'm going to go Rams 26, Niners 20. I think the score might be a little closer than the actual game.
I agree with everything you said with Akers and Sony Michel. Cooper Kupp, he's going to get his because I'm not sold on Garoppolo either. I've never been sold on Garoppolo. I've always thought he was put in good positions, but he still has not lived up to what he's supposed to do.
Guy wins a lot of games.
He wins a lot of games, but I think
not that.
Yeah. I think he's like I see him as a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback. They're gonna have to rely on Debo, of course.
Oh yeah,
Kittle.
I'd love to see the Niners beat them. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I want the Niners to win because, for probably the same reasons we both have about the Rams. I would like to see the Niners win, but I don't think they're going to do. I don't think they can beat them 3 times in a row.
No, it's awfully hard to do, and I just wanted to tell the viewers that the last team to do that was our New York Giants against the hated Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes,
Give them the Eli Bird right there.
Yes, we did.
So we're in agreement, bro. Like I said, I love what happened in the NFL this past week.
Yeah.
And even though I'm going to tune in, I'm not as fired up about these games because of the fact that there's a strong part of me that doesn't believe that the best teams are playing this weekend.
Same.
But that's why they play the games.
Yeah, my score, I'm going 30-20. The Rams.
2 possessions, 2 scores rather.
I wish it would be, I could say 30-20 Frisco. I just don't think Garoppolo has enough. Because even in the final meeting, it took an interception for them to win last time they played. So,
I'm willing to go as far as saying that I don't think Garoppolo throws a touchdown pass. But one guy that might throw a touchdown pass because of their very varied play calling is our former receiver, Odell Jr. Yeah, and you can't talk about Odell without talking about this.
Here we go.
All right, we don't have a third man on the show this evening, but that's okay.
Let me go ahead.
We're gonna let the viewers choose who won this debate.
All right.
Normally we have a judge. Great idea.
Yeah.
Given to us by our host Jordan. This is one of my favorite segments, and we haven't done this in a while. But this is Start Bench Cut, the Divas edition.
Ooh. Let's go.
All right. First of all, let me just throw this out here, and I'm going to give you the 3 divas that I believe we should probably speak on in reference to this. Now, just to let the viewer know, the way Start Bench Cut has always worked is you give a topic for an argument, you got to start one, you got to bench one, you got to cut one, and say why, and you kind of try to sell it to the judge. The judge is not Mickey Mantle or Don Zimmer or anybody behind me. It will be the viewer or anybody who wants to chime in when they do see this. But these are our divas. I'm going to go Antonio Brown, Terrell Owens, and our guy, Odell Beckham Jr.
Woo.
Start one, cut one, bench one. Who is the biggest diva? Now, this isn't about who's the best behaved. Who is the bigger diva of the 3 and why? Start, bench, cut. My friend, you got 90 seconds.
Oh, shoot. I'm gonna start T.O. I'm gonna bench OBJ, and I'm gonna cut AB. Reason being is, wild as T.O. has been, off the field, he was not an issue. You know, he's very intense. He gave you everything. It showed in the Super Bowl. He came back after having a broken leg. He's going to give you everything he has. He may get on your nerves. OBJ is lightning in a bottle. Once he gets the ball, he's gone. He's going to do what he has to do. Explosive player. However, if he doesn't get the ball, he may be sort of a distraction during the game. He's not going to walk off and leave the team, but he's going to cry a little bit.
Yeah.
AB is going to – we've seen AB. He's going to affect the locker room. He's not going to care what's going on the field. It's about him. He's going to say, kiss my ass. It's about me. I don't need this nonsense. And he's going to trash everybody on the team, top to bottom, no matter who helped him. He does not give a shit. So I'm going with start T.O., bench OBJ, cut AB.
Well, if we had a third person, and if I was able to be the judge, I would completely agree with you. But because there's only 2 of us,
Yeah.
I'm going to go flip-flop on this just for the sake of fun. I'm going to flip it and say who gets the most Diva points.
Woo.
So in this
regard, are you asking me? Go ahead.
Skip used to call him Team Obliterator back in the day.
Right.
Because, T.O. did have a way about him of team jumping. Odell, in his own right, actually, all three of them have been team jumpers. So yeah. I'll throw that to the side for a second. AB wins this if we're flipping it into who's the biggest diva.
Yes.
You already said who's the best behaved. I'm going to be the bad guy and say who's the worst behaved. So if I'm going with the worst behaved, I'm starting Antonio Brown. He will literally leave the stadium during a game. Now, if I got to bench somebody, I'm benching T.O. because in my opinion, nah, screw that. I'm benching Odell. I know this is tough. I'm benching Odell because if you want poor behavior and all kinds of that to your team, I mean, bro, your boy could get knocked out by a kicking net. There ain't no kicking net knocking out T.O. I'm sorry. T.O.'s not getting knocked out by a kicking net.
No.
And one thing that I loved about T.O., but in this case, if I want to base it on bad behavior, I wouldn't rank him for it.
Yeah.
T.O. always showed up in between the lines when we make this more serious about the God's honest truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why he is the best of the three.
Yeah.
The most talented is probably Odell. Definitely Odell.
Yeah.
The one with the highest ceiling, given the kind of career he had, was actually AB.
Yeah, true that.
T.O., got to give the man credit for something here. Mm-hmm. While he might have not had the best reputation, to your point, he never did anything foul off the field. He kept his body in tip-top shape. And Odell needs to, not so much Odell, but certain Odell supporters need to humble down a little. Because truth be told, Terrell Owens is in the kind of condition that if he was to get off his couch right now, he can probably produce as the Rams' number 2 receiver.
Yes, I agree.
That's my final thought on this. We got people in our fan base and beyond our fan base that believe Odell is all the way back. And while I'm happy to see him succeeding because I never hated the man, I do think that things are getting a little blown out of proportion because of the sheer fact that he has that kind of phenomenal setup with the Los Angeles Rams. And I'm not trying to diminish anything that man brings to the field. He's all energy. He's a rock star. He truly is. But AB could have filled in there. There were a lot of very talented players that could fill in as a number 2. And to be fair, when Odell got there, he was the number 3.
Right.
So with that said, enjoy championship weekend, guys. This was fun. A lot of content. I think we did the best we could without the third man dynamic of this start bench cut. But Idris, thank you, buddy. So much for being on the show.
Always. It's a pleasure. I love it. I love talking football, sports. I love it. Hey, we got to do it again.
Absolutely. And I have every intention of making sure we do. And, we've got a nice network of people who have been contributing to our product, and we greatly appreciate it. If you haven't, please subscribe on YouTube. We're out, but I'm sure we're going to chat some more.
Always.
Take care, everybody. Be safe out there.